Hi, I'm Joe Webb. Welcome to my professional portfolio. When you first come to the site, you land on this home page here, and you get an image of me and a little blurb about who I am. Down here, I have a quick explanation of my signature strengths, and I'm hoping that as you watch this video tour, you'll see that there's a progression here that moves from creativity to advocacy to vision, kind of all tied together in a narrative. If we click the Read More button here or the Philosophy button, it will take you right to my personal philosophy, which talks about how teaching, which is what I do, is essentially about communication and how technology is changing the way we communicate and interrelate. It's putting people with very different perspectives into one pot. I talk about how I understand very deeply from personal experience how those perspectives really impact our ability to communicate and learn from one another, and how my role as an educator and a citizen of the world gives me some sense of mission to try and help people to navigate this new landscape and these differing, conflicting perspectives while seeking wisdom. I've also included here my CV, which you can click here to download if you want to see more details about my work experience. But essentially, I've tried to keep this, like all of my pages, very simple and user-friendly. I've also included a few examples here of my research interests and a few YouTube videos that go with each one, just for those who might be interested in getting a little more about who I am and what I'm interested in. Moving now to my first signature strength, I showed that my creativity is about designing for the imagination, which means leaving room for the learner to play and engage with their own imagery and their own imagination rather than spoon-feeding everything, but also to some degree needing to translate these abstract ideas into something concrete. This is really well exemplified here in a couple of the videos that I have linked. This one is already playing in progress. I'm not 100% sure why that is, but there's another video here that you can choose from. And this is another abstract idea which I put into a very concrete visual. And that's a skill that is extremely useful in teaching that not everyone has access to. So I thought I would showcase some of my work there. I also have created a video that explains this work below for those who can't get into the case study that I did. This is me investigating another designer's work, providing my own design and having my design communicate with theirs, and using some in-depth analysis to really look at what that looks like. Here I have an example of me using technology to teach teachers about technology based on a survey, a lot of data that I collected in order to create this module that would really be useful for teachers who are struggling with how their students are using technology in the classroom. So if you can get around all that recursiveness, I think you can see why I included this. It kind of really explains how I'm using design to communicate these things in a creative way. My next signature strength here is advocacy, and I chose two main things that I'm advocating for. One is a cultural advocacy, cultural literacy, and media literacy. These two things are about overcoming divisions in our world by combating ignorance. That's really sort of how I place it here in this short blurb. And I have examples of modules that I created for media literacy, and here's a quick video that tours you through that. I also have included a video here called The Tyranny of Silence. It's an academically geared presentation about race and equity in education, but it is a good example of what I've been learning through this course. And then here, this PDF is all about a social consciousness encounter module, which I developed to help people of privilege to understand their privilege. This last section here is just a few images that you can click through to see some of the service projects that I've undertaken to promote the kind of media and cultural literacy that I talk about in this portion of the website. Last but not least is my strength of vision, which here I'm talking about the gaps in what technology can offer and what we're doing with technology, and how I see the future of education, technology, and the intersection there is going to work out. I start with my skills of creativity, imagination, and making the abstract concrete. I move to advocacy, which shows how I'm passionate about these issues of promoting knowledge and promoting communication between people who are different. And now I'm talking about how that vision comes together. So for work samples, I've included my issue investigation blog, which goes through quite a bit of the modern landscape, different things that we grapple with in the modern world, and how I suggest we might address that, or questions that I have. I also have included here a snapshot of my own media usage, both how I'm using technology in my work as it now exists, how I'm using it in my personal life. And this is also, of course, an example of my design and is employing, again, Mayer's principles to communicate information. And then here's sort of the kind of the jewel of this experience is, and you can watch some of the videos down here if you're interested in greater depth than I'm going to go through now. But this is a reimagining of LMS that I've done. The next generation of learning management systems, if we could throw Blackboard away and start over, taking some good things that we like about Blackboard. But anyway, this is just a clickable prototype. It takes you through a couple different aspects that I designed in my imagination. If this were real, this is essentially a proof of concept. So we have a section here where all of the assignments would line up. You can see everything where it's due. You can even move straight to where that assignment is located and start working on it. This would be sort of a portion where you can use interactive texts. You can search for definitions. You can even allow everything you highlight to accumulate in a notes section here. And then when you're ready to communicate about it, you click right here into the discussion board, and all of that you've collected goes right into the module here. Even if you need to, switch to Twitter and get your tweet out to the rest of the class. And the idea here is this social aspect and this relationship aspect that we've been learning is so critical, even in online learning, is present here. It's taking sort of the best of social media and bringing it out into the larger landscape here. And then this ultimately moves into my own, triage of all the information that I've collected, and I can look at other people's triage. So this is sort of a way of gamifying, and you can see the ratings down here that express how well somebody is curating and sharing what it is that they're learning and finding on the internet. So this is just sort of a thought experiment here, but I thought it was something important to showcase in my work, because it's sort of the culmination of, again, all these things. How can we use creativity and advocacy to create a community where learning can take place and can be done in a way that eschews fake news and achieves some sense of truth and belonging and community. So that's my portfolio. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it makes sense to you. Please let me know what your questions are. I look forward to your feedback.